And you are just in time for your most comprehensive weekly look at the world of business and economics. This is Business Redefined. Welcome. I am Julian Amboko. Last week we were heavy on the budget. This week we are excavating into the subject of mining. Kenya has an estimated 129 different types of minerals, including titanium from Kwale County, carbon dioxide from Kiambu, and diatomite in Nakuru. In 2019, the mining industry's total output was valued at 67 billion shillings, just about 1% of GDP, a slight decline from the 67.7 billion shillings reported in 2018. In its mining and minerals policy adopted in 2016, Kenya seeks to optimize the economic potential of its mineral resources through measures such as establishing a stable and predictable fiscal framework. 4 years since the adoption of this policy, how is Kenya doing as far as optimizing the potential of its mineral resources is concerned? How can the country better position itself to take advantage of the budding oil sector? Our guest tonight is the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Mining, Ambassador Kirimi Kaberia. Welcome on set, sir.
Thank you.
And I should just mention that you can be part of this conversation online at NTV Kenya, at AmbokoJH. The hashtag is Business Redefined. PS, welcome. And let me just begin by asking, many sectors at this particular point are grappling with this discussion of COVID-19. And many Kenyans are just curious to know, from a mining perspective, how is it faring?
It has had a great effect on all of us globally, and especially in the mining sector, because most of our products in the mining sector are exported. So you can imagine that many of our buyers are not buying, or if they are, they're in very limited levels. However, there has been also a silver lining in this whole process, because if you look at, for example, the price of gold, it's at a pre-2008 level. We have seen prices go very, very high, which means, again, we have better returns, especially for those of us who are in the mining of gold.
I see. And speaking about the price of gold, one of the key challenges that many countries have when it comes to this issue of minerals is just the volatility in the pricing. For example, of course, we know that Kenya is now a budding oil exporter, but if you have seen oil prices lately, there's been a bit of a tank. Does this bother you when you sit in your position?
Yeah, but at the same time, you also have to understand that this is a business of bulk. It is about volumes, it's about demand. So for me, I think looking at it from a global perspective, Kenya has an opportunity to grow its sector in mining. So price volatility is something that is expected, but we have quite a number of ways of handling that, and it's not only in Kenya, it's globally.
PS, when you look at the forward and backward linkages of the mining industry, of course, this industry supports a lot of people in employment. Just paint for us a picture of how robust this sector is.
If you want to look at that critically, today in the informal and formal sector, we have over 40,000 people working in the mining sector. And this is not including the over 30,000 people direct and indirectly supported by the mining sector who play at the lower level of artisanal mining. So as an employer, mining is huge. It's very big.
Okay. And we are coming from the budget season. And of course, looking at the mining and minerals policy, one of the key requirements was that there should be a stable and predictable fiscal environment. Now, we've seen a number of proposals, for example, in the Finance Bill of 2020, which seek to take away some of the VAT exemptions on mining equipment. How does this sit with your ministry?
I think it is important that we look at it from an holistic point of view, because in the onset it may look like, oh, this is going to discourage, but at the same time we are saying that if we are going to give exemptions on the mining part, we also must extend this to some extent on the part of value addition, so that we reduce export of raw materials. So to me, at a physical point, we need to give more and more incentives to be competitive, but at the same time, we have to look inside and start protecting those minerals that are here and ensure that we encourage our manufacturing sector to use more and more materials locally. If you take, for instance, in an area like the cement or the construction industry, we import in 1 year over 2 million tons of clinker. Yet it is predominantly limestone. Limestone is found in over 30 counties in this country. So we should really continue increasing the amount of clinker produced locally. And if that means reducing the cost of bringing in the machinery to help us produce the clinker, then so be it, we must do that. However, we must at the same time look at what is competitive globally and what is the trend so that we are competitive and attractive at the same time.
And staying with the subject of the mining and minerals policy, 4 years down the road, as far as implementation is concerned, what's your assessment of how the country has done? Because this was largely touted as the bedrock of Kenya's ability to optimize on its mineral resources. It
still remains the same. I think Kenya is seeing itself now banding out as a good mining country. We are conducting a global mapping or national mapping for all our minerals so that we are able to really put out there some very, very comprehensive data that would help an interested investor or even local investors from around the country to come into the sector and ensure that they have a good decision-making support from the government. So from where I sit, I do believe very strongly that we have a good chance to support the economy even in a bigger way. Today we produce between 1% and 2% of our GDP. I think we have the potential to go to 5 or even more.
Okay. And speaking about the subject of devolution, of course, with the devolved level of governments, there have been a number of issues, especially when you look at some minerals. For example, when you had oil in Turkana and locals want X and the national government wants Y. How are you harmonizing some of this friction?
Yes, we have, for example, on the issue of royalties, we have a system that is defined in law where 70% goes to the national government, 20% goes to the county government, 10% goes to the local. And I think this is a good formula for distribution of wealth. However, it is important also to note that mining is not a devolved function.
Yeah, and that's very critical. Just to stay with that, in terms of how we are building on the local community development, capacity building, and the knowledge transfer to the local communities, what is the ministry doing around this area?
Right now, we are pushing very hard to ensure that we have value addition centers. One in Voi, we are developing a few others around the country. At the same time, we have the National Mineral Institute, where we will train the local people on how to handle the different minerals, how to value add, how to mine, and how to ensure that even the safety structure is put in place. And all this will be done by local people in the places where we have mines. At the same time, we are ensuring that we are promoting the right environmental standards to ensure that our people are covered and given the full support to be able to mine in the right way.
And that point by PS Kirimi Kabere takes us to our break on this show. Remember, we are discussing the subject of mining and how Kenya is optimizing its economic potential in this particular sector. Don't go too far. We'll be right back with a lot more.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
At Stima Sacco, we are a reflection of you. We are a stable, financially sound institution providing tailor-made services to add value to your life, time and money. We are guided by your aspiration. We are Stima Sacco, a true reflection of you.
My whole life is in my phone.
Training as a certified construction worker can be challenging, especially when you have to balance between getting education and working on your day job. At YMCA National Training Institute, we understand you and the challenge you face. That's why we provide a flexible arrangement for your training in masonry, electrical installation, painting and plumbing. In addition to the traditional classroom training, you can now be trained on-site as you do your daily work.
We all are looking for products to protect ourselves from viruses, but not all products protect us. Did you know that using Dettol soap and water protects against viruses? Many viruses are surrounded by an envelope with receptors that enable them to enter a human cell and cause infection. Dettol soap destroys the outer layer of the virus and effectively removes it. Protect your family from the spread of viruses with Dettol. Dettol cleans and is now tested and proven to be effective against COVID-19 virus. This has been Medifax for Dettol.
Amar Sanitizer is an alcohol-based sanitizer containing ethanol, which has a broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity, killing bacteria, viruses and fungi. Amar Sanitizer is enriched with aloe vera, making it gentle on your hands.
Welcome back to Business Redefined, your weekly look at the world of business and economics. And tonight we are focusing on the subject of mining in Kenya and how can the country optimize on the mineral resources to enhance its economic potential. And I said you can join this conversation online at NTV Kenya at AmbokoJH. The hashtag is Business Redefined. And I'm hosting the PS in the Ministry of Mining, Kirimi Kaberia. There's a question from a gentleman in Migori called Steve, who's asking that so far as potential stakeholders in the mining sector, we have not seen our government seeing the industry and its vast potential. There's a lot of bureaucracy in licensing as far as the sector is concerned. What do you have to say about this?
Well, I say, Steve, I hear you very loudly and very clearly. And here we are looking at ways of actually ensuring that we streamline the mineral rights application system through an online portal. We are developing this so that in the cadastre, everything is done easily and in a very transparent way. We are also looking to improving our ease of doing business, especially in the procedures for licensing, exporting, mineral testing, and also other areas of analysis and everything else involved in ensuring that the person who is exporting is actually exporting the value that they are declaring, and they are also getting the value for whatever it is that they are selling. So, Steve, I hear you, and I would like to say that as a ministry, we're working very hard to ensure that at this point we reduce the bureaucracy and also create better efficiency.
And just a quick write-up to the question Steve is asking. In terms of milestones, are you setting up, for example, a time frame on the streamlining of some of these procedures so that at least the locals can get some benefit?
Yes, definitely. We are ensuring that, for instance, if you are in a certain classification, because we have the artisanal, we have the small and medium-sized business people or miners, and we have the larger ones. And within the artisanal community, we are giving them more support, actually going out there, forming these CDAs, community development associations and artisanal mining groups, that we are going to see more and more support from government in terms of ensuring there is safety, mine design, and also ensuring that there is access to market. When you come to small and medium size miners, we are giving them access to market and also at the same time providing them with better skills so that they are able to be more competitive. When you come to the bigger groups, for example, base titanium resources, we are collaborating with them to ensure that they have a better work environment so that they are able to grow and support the sector more.
And PS, when you talk about the ease of doing business, at the macro level, we have new discoveries coming from countries like Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya as well. How do we ensure that as a country we remain competitive, especially when we look at the deals that are being struck, for example, between different countries from the mining side?
We have to look at, for instance, what are the things or incentives that given to an investor, Kenya would be more attractive than any other country that has the same minerals as we do. At the same time, we have to look at what it is that we have here that is unique to Kenya, that should be protected so that it provides top value for what we have. Because we also have to understand that minerals are not indefinite. Yeah. They will be exhausted at some point. So we must maximize on value for Kenya. So as we attract investors, as we bring in higher and better technology, we also must keep in the back of our minds that this is a God-given gift to Kenya that may not last forever, and it must be properly and strategically utilized.
P.S., I must ask you this question. Many Kenyans, of course, are following up, and I appreciate this doesn't fall directly under your purview, but many Kenyans are following the story of oil very keenly. And of course, last week, Talo Oil indicated that his 2-year contract on the early oil pilot scheme had come to an end. What lies ahead?
I think as Kenya, we are working closely with our partners. Kenya is a country in very good standing internationally as a business destination, and I'm sure any partner that we have had in the past is very happy to have been here. So in this area of Talo, I believe the respective people who are handling this are doing a very good job of making sure that all parties are in good shape and Kenya comes out of this in the right form.
Let's talk about the issue of environmental impact. This is an area where a number of miners are falling on the wrong side of the law, if I may say. What's the ministry doing, first of all, in terms of monitoring and then ensuring that all those who partake in this industry do not cause adverse effects to the environment?
This is one of the reasons why some of the delays happen in licensing, because we must ensure that safety is paramount. Environmental protection is very important. We work very, very closely with NEMA, for instance. At the same time, we have to make sure we reach out to the mining communities and give the right education. Awareness is important. So we have to protect the local people, give them the right information. We also have to ensure that those who are mining have the understanding as to why these regulations are in place. So as a ministry, we are working to ensure that we have defined protocols that can be followed in undertaking this process.
Okay. And a gentleman by the name Jeremy on Twitter is just asking a question which I think I asked at the start of the show. Mining is a capital-intensive business. What sort of incentives is the government thinking of giving miners to facilitate their coming into Kenya?
We are working with different people. First is data. We have to give bankable information. With that, you reduce the extent of speculation. You reduce the extent of spending too much money going out there to try and identify the actual resource. Secondly, we are even looking at those who have identified real resource. Then we can come in as a government and offer certain breaks in either taxation or otherwise to ensure that when they are here, it is a better place than anywhere else. Mm-hmm.
And you spoke about right now mining is at about 1% of GDP. We have a potential of scaling this up to 5%. Mm-hmm. What would be required to hit this target?
It is first exploration, ensuring that we have mapped the whole country and we know exactly what is where. And then having a proper, well laid out strategy as to how we exploit this systematically and in the right way to maximize on value and gain for the country. Okay. I believe that we are on the right track because we have started on the mapping program. We are also developing the right strategies to ensure that whatever we find is not only bankable, but it is also taken to the market in the right context so that we get the right value back to the country. In a lot of places in Africa particularly, you've seen they have very high value minerals, but very low return. We want to ensure that we don't repeat that mistake by making sure that in advance we have the right information and we get it to the right place for the right value.
Speaking about the mapping exercise, which of course is generating a lot of interest here, just how far has the ministry gone with this and what areas are you specifically looking at?
We are actually conducting a nationwide mapping program. This will include going to the ground where there are known resources without proper quantification or classification, and then truthing using all the technology we have. Right now at Madini House, we have the equipment that can go out there into the field and rigs basically just dig into the ground and tell you exactly what is there and what is not there. We are also trying to ensure that those people who are interested in joining us in this exercise are welcome and are given the right environment. If you look at, for example, gold, we have quite some interest in the western part of the country, and we have quite a number of big players who have come in and are interested, and some are already in their second and third year of exploration. So going forward here, it is a lot brighter for us as a mining country. And as I said in the beginning, you have to really believe that there are only two ways of growing the economy. If it is not grown in agriculture, then it is mined in mining.
Okay. And my final question, because we're running out of time, and Augustine Apex on Twitter is asking, how can PS Kaberia assure investor confidence when they take ages to approve new special mining leases application and cannot even secure mineral rights despite board doing reviews?
I do want to give him the confidence that going forward we will have a lot of clarity, because as is right now, everything is online. Applications are online. Those who have been approved will be posted online, and everything will be easy and transparent.
All right. Many thanks, and that has been our conversation with PS Mining, that is Kirimi Kaberia, Ambassador. Thank you so much for your time. And we have been focusing on the subject of mining, and remember, this conversation continues online. You are still free to share any feedback. We'll of course be digging into this matter just to follow up on issues such as the mine mapping program, which has said is nationwide, to try and accelerate issues such as licensing. So these are matters which are not ending on this show. They will continue in subsequent coverage of this subject. But for now, let's take a look at how the markets close the day.
Market Review, proudly brought to you by Business Daily. More possibilities.
And taking a Nairobi Securities Exchange, the NSE 20 share index closed at 2025.55 points. Change in terms of year to date, that's since the start of January, that is 23.69% down. And of course, change day on day is up marginally by 0.13%. So at least there's some breather there for investors compared to yesterday. But on an annual basis, starting January, that's quite a hit that investors have taken. But looking at the foreign exchange market to see how the shilling has fared against other currencies, just to look at that slide, if it's coming up on our screen shortly, there have been a bit of movements looking at the foreign exchange market. We're back to the NSE 20 share index, but let's just roll over to the foreign exchange market, which should have us see how the foreign exchange market, the shilling, has traded against major currencies. It looks like we might not be able to get that in good time as we would have desired. But that takes us to the close of Business Redefined tonight. We have been looking at the subject of mining, and speaking to the PS in the Ministry of Mining, that is Kirimi Kaberia, who has shed some light on a number of issues, including how the implementation of the mining policy of 2016 is going. And of course, we continue with this conversation online and in our subsequent stories. That takes us to the end of Business Redefined tonight. I've been your host, Julian Amboko. Stay tuned on NTV for other programming.